What is going on, everybody? It is Frankie here, and welcome to the 2024 NFL Week 3 predictions. Already at Week 3, a lot of excitement here in the first 2 weeks. Some surprises, the Saints, some disappointments. I would say the Giants, but I didn't expect anything of them. But now we are getting ready to look ahead to Week 3, and let's do that here with our predictions. We start with the Thursday night game, the New England Patriots and the New York Jets. The Jets are 6.5-point favorites. I will give this Patriots team credit. They have played so much better than I think most of us thought. I think a lot of us thought this was going to be the worst team in the NFL. They're certainly not going to be that. They have fought hard. They've shown a lot of character here. Mayo is really, I love what he's brought to this team so far after Belichick's departure. Again, they're not going to be a great team, but they're gonna fight a lot, and we saw that here in the first 2 weeks. We saw that in the win in Week 1 against the Bengals, and then here against Seattle, they have really been tough. Lost the game, but still fought hard, sending that game in overtime. The Jets. This was the first win of the Aaron Rodgers era for the Jets, and if you had told a Jet fan that last July, they would have been like, "What the hell happened?" That it took until September 2024 for the first Aaron Rodgers win. But it happened here. Wasn't the prettiest game for Rodgers, but he got it done. The Breece Hall touchdown, that was a thing of beauty there. But Rodgers hitting some clutch passes late. I mean, think about the game-winning touchdown. 5 for 5 on that drive, 74-yard drive. Mediocre numbers, 18 for 30 for 176 yards, but he got there when it mattered most. 2 touchdowns from Braylon Allen. We mentioned the Breece Hall touchdown. Will McDonald had 3 sacks today. They really stepped up and delivered against Tennessee, albeit it was against the Will Levis Titans, but still, you credit them for that win there. And now we got this game here tonight, or Thursday night. And you know what? Even though I think the Jets will win this game, thinking about how tough this New England team fights and how hard they are and how, just seeing these first 2 games, they just have this energy and this momentum to them. They won't give up. I actually think the Patriots cover in this game. I think the Jets win because it's Rodgers, and I can see like a late last-minute touchdown drive. I could see the Jets like stumbling through this game for 45 minutes. Jet fans going, "Oh my gosh, this is awful, terrible," and then somehow in the last drive, fourth quarter, last drive, Rodgers steps up and gets the big drive, scores a touchdown at the end to win. I could see that happening, and I could see the Patriots covering this game. I think it's gonna be a close game. It's these division matchups, Amazon Prime games, they're weird. I said the Patriots cover in this one. I think the Jets do win and get to 2-1, but the Patriots cover. So give me the Patriots plus 6.5 on Thursday night against the Jets. The New York Giants and the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are 6.5-point favorites. So you score 3 touchdowns. You don't allow a touchdown, and you lose because you forgot to get a backup kicker on the roster. I don't care if that's Dable's fault. I don't care if that's Sheen's fault. You both should be fired for that. And Dable has the nerve to be angry at a reporter who's questioning his job security. You know what, dude? You're lucky. You're going to be lucky you still have a job on Monday, okay? The way this team is completely folded in the last year, man, what happened to you, man? I know it's not all your fault, but God, what a terrible day. And you had Neighbors with his first touchdown. You had Jones actually didn't play that terrible, but in the end, it didn't matter. Just could not. That was just a prototypical Giants loss, I feel like, for this year. That was ugly loss. Letting Washington hit 7 field goals and winning against you guys. Terrible. Cleveland, on the other hand, they win this one against Jacksonville. Everyone's favorite, Deshaun Watson, actually had a decent game. He ran for a touchdown. It wasn't a high scoring. It was an ugly win, but you take that. I mean, how about the penalties? This team is so undisciplined. 11 last week, 13 this week. They had 3 infractions on what could have been the game-sealing drive at the end of the game, and they gave the ball back to It's just a lot of sloppiness with this team. Deshaun was better. Didn't turn the ball over. He ran for a touchdown. It was a better performance against a Jacksonville team that we all have a lot of questions about how good this team really is. But now they have a game here at home against the Giants, and I'm expecting Cleveland to win this one. I thought about taking the Giants because it's not like Deshaun has been that good, but the Giants look like a total mess, and the Browns are a mess, but not totally. So I think this will be a game where Deshaun will actually be pretty decent. But in the end, Cleveland covers anyway because the ineptitude of the Giants, and I think Daniel Jones will go back down to earth. Just a terrible, awful season for this Giants team, and I can't believe I have to watch any more of these games. God, can we just skip ahead to next year already when Daniel Jones is off this roster? Give me the Browns minus 6.5 over the Giants. The Green Bay Packers and the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are 2-point favorites. Credit to Malik Willis. I certainly was doubting him. I thought, no way this guy's going to be any good. But you know what? Credit to LaFleur because he put together a brilliant game plan. He said, we're going to not have him throw a lot. What was it? Only 14 throws? But the throws he had were good. 12 for 14, 122 yards, threw for a touchdown, 6 rushes for 41 yards. But what really won this game for the Packers was the run game. They kept giving the ball, feeding the rock, hand the rock, whatever which expression you want to use. Sorry, it's really late. I'm drunk. They just kept handing the ball to the running game and kept letting the running game control that game. And they did. And it was terrific. The Colts could not stop the running game at all. Josh Jacobs carried 32 times for 151 yards and just 237 yards rushing in the first half, the third most by an NFL team in the first half of a game since 2000. 14 behind the most, which was the Jaguars in 2006. 53 rushing yards in total for 261 yards. They realized, look, we can't win if Malik Willis is the number one reason. We got to be able to run the ball, and they did, and it was effective. Colts just could not stop them. Very impressive win for Green Bay. I was thoroughly impressed and thought, all right, you know what? Maybe it's not over. Maybe even without Love, they're going to be fine at least for a while. I have nothing really positive that's to say about Tennessee. Just a bad loss, and Will Levis just oof. It's just he just has the capacity to make the dumbest mistakes. The fumble there. I don't know what that backwards pass. I don't know what that was there at the end of that game. I think that was in the half. Even his coach was mad at him, deservedly so. I don't know why Tennessee's favorite. I guess because it's like, all right, Malik Willis versus Will Levis. This is hopefully not a game that the Red Zone will show that much. But you know what? I'm going to roll with Willis again. I think that Green Bay has another great game. Pound the rock again. Willis doesn't make too many mistakes, which is all you ask for. And I think Green Bay covers and wins in Tennessee. Give me the Packers +2. The Chicago Bears and the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are a point favorite. Bad Sunday night game against Houston. I was looking forward to this game, and it really was a letdown. And one of the reasons was Caleb. Caleb, another bad performance from him. Now, it's not all his fault. The offensive line for Chicago is terrible. But Caleb didn't help himself that much. He threw... The first pick I thought was a really good defensive play. The second one, where he had to scramble all the way to the right side, but then he throws it, and there's one Bear and 3 Texans right there in that vicinity. What do you think was going to happen? So just a really bad play there, and then the 4th down play at the end of the game there was just oof. But look, he's a rookie. You hope he gets better, but you want to see a little bit more. He's better than Bryce Young. I'll give you that. But 23 for 37, 174 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks, and a 51 passer rating. But he was also sacked 7 times. He was 0 for 5 under pressure. He was 2 for 9 while pressured. In his 2 games, Tennessee, Houston, he's 2 for 14 with 20 yards and 2 picks while pressured. So, yes, he certainly needs some help, but yeah, he's not showing a lot right now. I hope he gets better, but also a lot of mistakes Chicago made, 9 penalties, 3 on special teams, and the run game really didn't do much. Swift had 18 yards on 14 rushes. Not a great game for Chicago, and in a year that a lot of people were having high expectations for, haven't really seen it. I mean, they had the win in week 1, but that wasn't really that impressive, I think, to most people, and then this one especially, just a bad performance on Sunday night. Speaking of unimpressive, the Colts just let Green Bay run all over them. Run defense, really, really bad. 237 yards in the first half. Anthony Richardson, we saw the bad side of him, just really bad. He was the leading rusher of the game, which is kind of a problem. 6 carries for 56 yards, but didn't make a lot of good throws. He had a bad interception in this game. You're losing to Malik Willis, who no one was really expecting much of. Just a bad start. And this was the bad side. Anthony Richardson, so far we've seen good, we've seen bad from him. This was certainly the worst we've seen from him. And look, he's young too, and you hope that he can get better. But yeah, just an ugly game from him. I know it was on the road, but still. In the end, though, I'm going to roll with Chicago in this game. Neither quarterback looked that great yesterday. But in the end, I got to roll with Chicago here because I just think that I expect better from Caleb, and I think he's going to be able to make some big plays here in this game. And I thought about actually taking the Colts, but just thinking about Richardson and just I expect we're going to see bad Richardson again. I want to believe that the guy who threw the 60-yard touchdown pass last week is we're going to see more of that, but I don't see it in this game. I think Chicago, it'll be another game that I'm not really looking forward to, but I expect Chicago to win this one here, and I think Caleb does show off. He has those high moments, those low moments. I think this will be a high moment this week, just because I want to believe in the kid. I want to trust him. And I think he's gonna. I think we're bound for a big time Caleb performance. Hopefully this will be it. Give me the Bears +1 against Indy, and for Caleb Williams to get a second win, and hopefully first good starting outing. The Houston Texans and the Minnesota Vikings. The Texans are 3-point favorites. As I mentioned, bad Sunday night game, but the Texans got the win. Stroud I was really disappointed with the Texans just not balancing their offense. You had Stroud with 39 dropbacks, but only 21 rushing plays. Would like to see a little bit more running in this game here, especially after week 1 where Mixon had 159 rushing yards. I guess he was battling an ankle injury, so that's why you couldn't really bring him out there. But man, if he was healthy, maybe you could have seen a bit more from him. But still a good win from the Texans. Great game from Nico Collins, a second consecutive 100-yard game. And it's not, you don't even need Tank Dells and Stephon Diggs. Imagine if you can get all 3 of those guys working at the same time, how impressive that could be. So, yeah, ugly one for Houston there, but they got it done. Not the most impressive performance out of Stroud, but that's fine. Vikings, though, had the more impressive win. This was a special against the best team in the NFC, I think most of us would agree. And they looked terrific. The defense was locked down. Darnold, at one point in this game, had no Hockenson, no Addison, and no Jefferson. And he was moving the ball down the field. 17 for 26, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had the offensive highlight of the day, the 97-yard touchdown to Jefferson, which was a great throw and an even better reception there, or just as great of a receiving reception, and then just run to the end zone that Jefferson had. Again, I asked why Darnold couldn't do this with the Jets, but maybe that's just, if you go to the Jets, your career is shot unless you're Aaron Rodgers. At least let's hope so. But sensational win for Minnesota. I don't know if it was the most impressive one we saw. That was probably the Saints on Sunday, but that was still extremely impressive. Great job by Brian Flores. Pressuring Brock Purdy 13 times. They sacked him 6, the most by Purdy in his career. They intercepted him once. They recovered a fumble. All this leading to a 2-0 start that is really good to see here from Minneapolis. And they just look. I don't know if it's going to last. I'd probably say no, but you're very happy about the way this team is playing. If you're a Vikings fan, you're over the moon over this team. In this game here, I'm going to take Texans. I think they're a more talented team. And as much as I am happy with the Darnold story right now, I don't know if I trust it. I don't really believe it's going to go all the way. At least as of now, I'm not sure about it. But I think the Texans, with the talent that they have on offense, is going to win this one here. It's going to be hopefully a close game, an exciting game, but I think the Texans do enough to win it. Give me the Texans -3 over Minneapolis. The Los Angeles Chargers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are 2.5-point favorites. Chargers, beating up on the Panthers, but against Bryce Young, that's like taking candy from a baby. So I'm how impressive is the victory? I don't know. Solid game from Herbert, 2 touchdowns. Quentin Johnson has looked better this year, 2 touchdowns from him. As you mentioned last week, J.K. Dobbins, it's been really great to see him healthy and look as good as he had. 17 carries for 131 yards and a touchdown. The first Chargers player to rush for 100 yards in each of his team's first 2 games of a season. And he got a little trouble for a somersault into the end zone. And then he got told, hey, I can't do that anymore. So, what are you going to do? And yeah, the defense was just all over Bryce Young. They held him to 22 passing yards and a pick in the first half. So, but again, it is Bryce Young, so I don't know how much I can take that. But good win there for the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh. How about that? Are we surprised that he's gotten his team off to a good start? We've seen this everywhere in college. When he went to Stanford, they started off hot. Michigan, the Niners, they went to the NFC Championship game that first year, and they had a great start to that season in 2011. Michigan, he took them to a great start in 2015 before the Michigan State game and the terrible botched snap with the punter. And here at the Chargers, he starts off 2-0, and why not? I think they're going to go 3-0 against the Pittsburgh here, even though good win for Pittsburgh against Denver. Defense looked absolutely elite. They've given up 16 points this season, the fewest points it allowed through the first 2 weeks in 2007. Justin Fields has looked good so far. Not perfect, but he's looked good. His best plays yesterday was the one that was offsetted by penalty. But one more good start like that, and Russell Wilson might have to ride the bench a little bit longer. I've been very impressed with seeing him. 10 for 12, 101 yards, and a touchdown pass in the first half. From Fields, he looked good. He's carrying. I've been happy to see him look as impressive as he has. Obviously, he had help from the Steelers, just completely owning Bo Nix in just every sense. Yeah, the offense, though, a little bit inconsistent, just the penalties and all that. But, especially in the second half, they just really struggled. They didn't really sustain drives. It didn't really matter, though, because they knew that Denver wasn't going to score that much. But, yes, in this game, I think the Chargers offense is just a little bit more explosive right now. They just have more going for them, and I expect in this game, on the road, I expect an upset for the Chargers. I think it'll be a fun game, but the Chargers go to 3-0 against Pittsburgh on the road. I expect some good things from Justin Herbert and company. Give me the Chargers and Dobbins. Give me the Chargers +2.5. The Denver Broncos and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs are 7-point favorites. Bo Nix is... I was making a joke to my friends while we were on the couch watching the games yesterday. I was joking with them that Bo Nix and Bryce Young 3 years from now will be competing for the CFL Grey Cup. That just seems like where they're headed for both these guys, or the UFL title, whatever that's called. It's early on here. It's only 2 games in Bo Nix's career, but man, he's been very unimpressive so far. Just not what you wanted here to see. If you're a Broncos fan, you want to see a little bit more. Have the rookie quarterbacks been all that impressive? I guess not so far. I'm sure hit me somebody, but it's just somebody in the comments will mention, hey, this guy's been playing well, but it just doesn't seem, best rookie so far has been Marvin Harrison. At least through the first game. And we'll get to the Cardinals in just a second here. But, just bad game for Denver there. Tampa, on the other hand, what a start to the season they've had. What a start to the year for Baker Mayfield. First 2 games of the year, he has 5 passing touchdowns, and he ran for 1. So that's 6 total touchdowns. They just looked really against a great Lions team. A Lions team that was very impressive. And even though they couldn't stop Aiden Hutchinson, but, it's hard to do that with him. With all of that, they still were able to win. They just looked good throughout the game. He and, Chris Godwin, great combination there. Godwin with 200 receiving yards. Through the first 2 games, he had 200 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a big touchdown in the second quarter, I believe it was. And yes, the offensive line, without Luke Godku, Hutchinson just ran over them, and yet they still won the game. So you're just very impressive. And the secondary, getting 2 takeaways off of Jared Goff, so they played big today. Very impressed with Tampa here. Terrific performance by the defense, and Baker was just cooking. Baker was just cooking all game. And I think that keeps rolling here. I say Tampa goes to 3-0. As I mentioned, I'm not really seeing much out of Denver here. I expect good things out of Tampa between the defense and Baker and the offense. I think they will dominate this one here. I don't really see much life out of Denver here in this game. So give me the Bucs -7 over Denver. This is the worst game of the week. The Panthers and the Raiders. Raiders are 7-point favorites. Bryce Young he can't be on an NFL roster anymore. I know that it's early on in his career, but you see nothing. You see absolutely nothing from this guy. He was near tears after he threw a pick today. He's getting booed at home. I'm sorry. Jamarcus Russell's going to have company. Jamarcus Russell and Ryan Leaf are going to have company if this keeps up for worst bust ever. There's nothing right now. There's nothing exciting. He has no energy. He has nothing. There's no confidence. He's shot. It's just sad to say. Raiders at least got the win. I don't expect much out of the Raiders this year, but that was an impressive win. Getting the 26-23 win over Baltimore, Minshew Mania. That was nice to see there. But I think that's more of an anomaly for the Raiders. I think that game kind of had more to say about how bad the Ravens are than how good the Raiders are. In this game, I expect the Raiders to win just because it's going to be Bryce Young, so you better beat them up. God, the Panthers are just an awful... It's going to be a terrible season here for the Panthers. I feel so bad for Panthers fans. It just doesn't look like there's any hope on the horizon. Give me the Raiders -7. The Miami Dolphins and the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are 6.5-point favorites. What an awful Thursday night for the Dolphins. They get manhandled in that game. Tua did not look good for most of it. They kept turning the ball over, and the Bills kept capitalizing on it. And then you have Tua get the concussion. Tua's head hitting DeMar Hamlin's chest. 2 of the most sensitive things in football. And now Tua's going to be out for a period of time. We had to deal with all this stuff the last couple of days about people in the media and fans at home saying he should retire. Reportedly today, he's not going to do that. He's going to keep trying to play. We'll see how that rolls out. Personally, I hope he retires because I just don't know how many more hits he can take, and I worry about him. But it is his call, and hopefully he's listening to his doctors on that. We'll have to see what Skylar Thompson can do. It looks like he's going to be the one that starts until Tua comes back, if Tua comes back at all. But I'm taking them to cover here in this game because there is a lot of talent on Miami. And there is Tyreek Hill, who, even though he didn't do great against Buffalo, he's still Tyreek Hill, and I still expect good things out of him. And you still have Waddle, and you still have Smith, and you still have Etienne. So I expect that Miami, even with Thompson, are going to be able to cover against Seattle. Seattle, on the other hand, big win for them against New England. Clutch performance by... Geno's one of the most clutch quarterbacks in the league. Got to talk about that. Last year, he had, 7 go-ahead touchdown passes in the fourth quarter overtime. Add another one here. Leading the field goal drive to tie it late in regulation and overtime. 33 for 44, 327 yards, 1 touchdown, no turnovers. And it could have been better because Seattle had 5 drops in the game. And they were really just... I felt bad for Geno. It's just like, these guys got to catch the ball for you. But they still won the game. Impressive victory for them. Metcalf had a touchdown in this game. Smith Niabi... I believe I'm saying that right. 12 catches for 117 yards. So impressive victory there. But I still think Miami has the more explosive offense, even without Tua. But because they don't have Tua, I don't think they're going to win. But I do think they will cover it. I think this could be a back and forth kind of game here. But I think Seattle, and it's Seahawks, and these games are never easy. The Seahawks always love. They're like the new Chargers. They always love playing close games that annoy their fans. So I think this will be a close game. It'll be an exciting game. But Miami will cover. But Seattle will win in Seattle. Give me the Dolphins plus 6.5. The Baltimore Ravens and the Dallas Cowboys. The Ravens are a half-point favorite. Man, this was a marquee matchup a couple weeks ago. Now, and I guess it still is, but between the Ravens, awful performance here against Oakland, just collapsing down the stretch. Their O-line being bad. The sloppy game, having 100 yards and penalties. They had a 10-point lead with 12 minutes to go, and they couldn't close the deal. You had just this team just Harbaugh making some bad decisions. You had a false start by Derrick Henry that they failed to convert a 3rd and 1. You had a pass interference by Stephens that set up the Raiders tying the game. Justin Tucker's not making kicks anymore. That's a problem. He missed another 50-yard kick. He's 34 years old. Maybe it's just we might be nearing the end of Justin Tucker, who's a future Hall of Famer, one of the great kickers of all time, but he doesn't really seem like he has that anymore, which is a really sad thing to see. Ravens are now 0-2 for the first time, I think, since like 2018. They are 0-2 for the first time since 2015. That was the only other time John Harbaugh has been 0-2, and it's crazy to think 16 years of being a coach for the Ravens that he's been 0-2. They have not been 2 games below 500 for a while, so it's really surprising to see there how bad they looked. And again, the Chiefs, okay, you can live with that, but this loss was against the Raiders really, really surprising. I expected better for them, especially when they had that late lead. But it was not the worst performance on Sunday. Oh boy, the Cowboys. Just when you think, all right, Dallas is good now, here we go. They destroyed Cleveland. Here we go. Watch what they do. Nope. Horrendous performance. Their defense just giving up big play after big play. Throughout three quarters, they allowed 10 yards per play. Tied for the most points they've given up in the first 2 quarters in team history with 35. They only allowed more than 35 points in a game just once last year. And he didn't even touch Carr. And Kamara wasn't touched. Kamara just ran all over that Dallas defense. Dak didn't really have a great game. 2 picks. The first one, kind of his receiver's fault. The second one was a bad pick. So it's just not impressive for Dak there. Not impressive for the Dallas offense. They did have the one play with Lamb. That was a nice touchdown, but that wasn't really it. Early on, it was just bad. They let the Saints, every time the Saints touched the ball, they were scored. On the first 6 possessions of the game, the offense failed on a couple red zone trips. It was just a really shocking performance. And maybe we shouldn't, because Dallas could have these moments where they look great and all of a sudden they look terrible. So maybe it shouldn't be too shocking, but I was really shocked. I was really surprised. Even though I picked New Orleans, I was really surprised at how bad Dallas looked in that game. So I got to pick somebody here. And it is at Dallas, but I do think the Ravens are a better team. And I can't imagine the Ravens starting 0-3. I can imagine Dallas starting 1-2. I cannot imagine the Ravens starting 0-3. They're too talented. They're too good. Lamar is too good of a quarterback for that to happen. Give me the Ravens, 0.5 to win this one. I think by double digits. And I think Dallas is a good team, but I think we're going to see a vintage performance from Lamar, motivated performance from Lamar to motivate the Ravens and give them a big win. Give me the Ravens minus 5.5. Give me the Ravens minus 0.5. The San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. The Niners are 7-point favorites. Oof, San Francisco. Rough one there against Minnesota. I am convinced that there's only 2 great teams in the NFL right now, the Chiefs and the Bills. That's it. Eagles we'll find out about tomorrow night. But I look at the league and I'm like, there's only 2 teams that are consistently good right now. Not even the Niners, who I was expecting great things of. And they didn't play well. Another game where they lose in Minnesota. Fred Warner was the only one today who was really showing great stuff. I don't care if it was a 10 o'clock game on the West Coast and, it's the time difference and everything. I don't care. Just too many mistakes. You should be better than that. Too many mistakes. Block punt, muff punt. Purdy loses the ball. He fumbles it. And once again, it's been 30 years since San Francisco has won in Minnesota. You would expect that it would have happened by now. And, letting Jefferson just go off like that, I guess it's Justin Jefferson, so you're going to have to do that. But defense really couldn't make the big plays, couldn't make the big stops. And that's why they lost here. And just surprising now. Now they have to fight with the Rams to see if they can stay above 500. Rams, on the other hand, awful performance from them. They got trounced by Arizona. We'll get to Marvin Harrison, as I mentioned, in a second. Yes, if you lose Cooper Kupp here with an ankle injury, that's going to haunt this team going forward. The Rams defense did nothing to stop Harrison. They couldn't really run the ball at all. Kyren Williams really just struggled, 25 yards on 12 carries. So they weren't able to move the ball on offense. They couldn't stop them on defense. Really struggled, and they also struggled to stop the run. Cardinals ran for 231 yards. Couldn't stop them at all in this game. I'm taking the Rams though, because it is at home, division matchup, and I do expect that we're going to see some good stuff here out of Stafford, despite the injuries. And yes, even if you lose Kupp and you already lost Nakua, this seems like a dumb pick. It might actually be the dumbest pick I've made in a long time. But I just see Stafford somehow finding a way, just like he did last week against Detroit. I see him somehow finding a way to keep it close. And right now I have concerns about San Francisco after the way they've played here. I think the Niners win, but the Rams cover. 7's a big number, so I expect the Rams to cover, especially at home. I expect the Rams to cover. Give me the Rams +7. The Detroit Lions and the Arizona Cardinals. The Lions 3-point favorites. A waste of an amazing performance by Aiden Hutchinson. 4.5. Could be 5 sacks. We'll see if they change that, but I thought it was 5, but right now it's listed as 4.5. But they lost this game. Jared Goff, bad performance. 2 costly picks, including a pick on the first offensive play of the game for them. And, they recorded 463 yards, yet still he was making too many dumb plays. You had Campbell botch the end of the half. They could have scored 3. He botched the play calling there, but that's the Dan Campbell experience. Like, you could have just dumb moments like that, and then you have the great moments like the fake punt. It's just the duality of Dan Campbell. You have to deal with it and live with it as a Lions fan. They only scored 1 touchdown on 7 red zone trips against the Bucs. They just couldn't get the ball in the end zone. They have so many weapons, and yet they still struggled on that front. Just a rough performance from Detroit. And another one, I was ready to believe in Detroit here. I was like, all right, this is a great team. And then that kind of outing against Tampa surprised me. As for the Cardinals, welcome to the NFL, Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyler Murray was reminded that he has him. He might as well throw to him. And just a special performance. 130 yards, 4 receptions. He was, by the end of the first quarter, they didn't really need him anymore. That's really how dominant he was early on in that game. But yeah, 2 great touchdowns, including the second one there. Kyler Murray with a perfect passer rating, 17 for 21, 266 yards, 3 touchdowns. You had James Conner step up with a touchdown there. And it was really a marquee moment there in the 4 o'clock hour. But yeah, the Cardinals offense, I don't know if that's what this Cardinals offense is going to be like for the rest of the year. But boy, oh boy, it would certainly be nice if that could be that. If it could be that dynamic with Kyler, with Harrison, with Connor, the Cardinals might have something here. Unfortunately, I don't believe that's going to happen in this game here. I think the Lions are going to be motivated after what happened. They're going to step up the defense. Kyler Murray versus Aiden Hutchinson is going to be a fun matchup. I think Hutchinson wins for the most part in that one. And I expect the Lions to win this one by at least 4. Give me Detroit -3. I know it's 3, but I think they win by -4. Sue me. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are 5.5-point favorites. Jaguars now 0-2, on the verge of being 0-3, on the verge of their season already being over. Their offense has been really shoddy. Trevor Lawrence didn't really have a great game. This is why I was really hesitant about giving him that contract. I was like, are we sure that we're going to give this guy that much? The O-line was manhandled. Looking at Jaguars fans say on social media, they seem like they're distraught. They're already ready to give up on this season. The owner talked about if this team doesn't make the playoffs, there'll be some changes moving forward. So maybe this is going to be the end for Doug Peterson. But it's still too early to figure that out. Obviously, losing Evan Ingram in pregame to a hamstring injury really changed things up there. But yeah, they're just nothing going for them for the most part there on the offensive side. Really could have used that against Cleveland. But yeah, they're just bad outing. Buffalo, I feel like it was not talked about enough because most of the discussion on Friday after the game was about Tua. But that was a pretty damn good Bills performance. Cook with 3 touchdowns. The defense before Tua's injury was completely suffocating them. And it was just a really, really, it reminded you why I like the Bills so much. Dominant performance. And I expect that will continue here into this game. Jaguars are struggling. They're teetering. The Bills have a chance, I feel like, to put the final blow on them because I don't think anybody's making this playoffs at 0-3. So I expect Buffalo to do that here in convincing fashion. I expect another great performance from Josh Allen. I expect the Bills to win this one. Give me Buffalo -5.5 over Jacksonville. The Washington Commanders and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are 5.5-point favorites. Washington, good win for you guys. Congratulations on that. Whatever. I'm not mad. Bengals, do want to give credit to Cam Taylor-Britt for already it's week 2, and I feel like that's the player of the year. That's the defensive player of the year. I don't know if I've ever seen a one-handed interception quite like that. It was really, really special. And you thought for sure that Cincinnati was going to win after that, but no, they couldn't close the Chiefs out. They fumbled that. Burrow fumbled that ball. The Chiefs returned it for a touchdown. They almost had the game won. They kicked the field goal. They almost had the game won. But then the pass interference, which I know people like to complain about the Chiefs not getting calls. That was pass interference. That was 100% pass interference. Whether or not, the problem is they don't call it consistently, but whatever. Bucker kicks the kick. And the Chiefs win. Bengals are now 0-2. At least they covered the game, but now we're looking at the Bengals potentially being 0-3. And I don't think the Bengals are another team that they're too good to be 0-3. So I expect them to win this one here. Even though, look, you want to see a little bit more. And, you do have to worry about Burrow here with, his right wrist injury. He looked a little bit better. He was throwing the ball deeper down the field, so it looked like things were okay there. But it's always those games against the Chiefs, man. Those teams always play each other well. Like, as a neutral, it's just so much fun watching Burrow, watching Mahomes go at it. And I feel like we've been robbed of that the last few years with Burrow's injuries and all that, but it was great seeing these two guys out there, and hopefully we see them in the AFC Championship game. If it's not Chiefs-Ravens, maybe we can see it for Chiefs-Bengals. But anyway, I expect another dominant performance from the Bengals offense. Washington needs to score touchdowns. I feel like against Cincinnati, they won't be able to do that, or at least to the level that you need to compete with the Bengals. Give me the Bengals here minus 7.5. Again, this team is too talented to be 0-3. Give me the Bengals to win this one here against Washington. That's it for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to this channel, like to see, make sure you subscribe down below. I'll be back tomorrow to pick the other two games on the schedule, Eagles Saints and Chiefs Falcons. I'll be waiting until after Monday night to make those picks for that game. I will see you guys then. Take care and God bless.